With Doubtnut, get instant video solutions to all your maths, physics, chemistry, and biology doubts. Just click the image of the question, crop the question, and get instant video solution. Download Doubtnut app today.
Question is, how is oxygen transported in the blood and released in the tissue? So here in this question, it is asking us about the oxygen transport, how it is transported throughout the body and reaches each and every tissue of our body. So what are all the things which help in carrying the oxygen in the blood? So number one, oxygen is carried out in two methods. Number one, it is dissolved in the form of dissolved oxygen in the blood. So 3% of the oxygen is carried in the form of dissolved form in the blood. The rest of the 97% of the oxygen is carried by a carrier molecule which is known as hemoglobin. So in hemoglobin there is a heme part which has 4 iron attached to it. Each iron molecule carries one oxygen molecule. So 4 molecules of iron carries 4 oxygen molecules. So there are two reasons behind the hemoglobin being a carrier molecule of oxygen. So first reason is hemoglobin has very high affinity for oxygen. Second reason is, other than that, partial pressure of oxygen is high in lungs. Okay, so as the partial pressure of oxygen is very high in lungs, hemoglobin takes up the oxygen. Now after that, now the hemoglobin has taken up the oxygen from the lungs. From lungs, it will carry the oxygenated blood towards the heart. Now what is the function of heart? Heart will pump the blood into the artery. So now this artery which is carrying the oxygenated blood, hemoglobin having oxygen in the form of oxyhemoglobin HbO2 will carry the oxygen into the tissues. Now when this oxygenated hemoglobin HbO2 reaches the tissues where the partial pressure of oxygen is very low, what will happen? The hemoglobin will release the oxygen into the tissue. Now hemoglobin will release the oxygen into the tissues and it will take up the CO2 from the tissues. So this is how exchange of gases takes place at tissue level. Now in hemoglobin, CO2 will combine with water molecule and will generate carbonic ion. Now this carbonic ion with hemoglobin will travel to the lungs where CO2 will be CO2 will be released in the lungs. So this is how transport of oxygen and CO2 is done with the help of hemoglobin as a carrier molecule. So now let's look at the steps once again how it is done. Most of the oxygen is carried out with the help of hemoglobin, which is a carrier molecule which carries one hemoglobin molecule carries 4 oxygen molecules at a time. Hemoglobin has very high affinity for oxygen, therefore it attaches to the oxygen very quickly, and also high partial pressure of oxygen is very high in the lungs. So hemoglobin attaches 4 oxygen molecules towards it and carries to the tissues where the partial pressure of oxygen is low and releases the oxygen in the tissues.
For class 6 to 12, IIT JEE and NEET level. Trusted by more than 5 crore students. Download Doubtnut app today.